To this now, Judge President Selby Mbenenge's first witness testimony to the stand has seemingly raised questions on Judges Secretary Andiswa Mengo's version of alleged in-person interactions between her and the top judge. Now, this is the former Judges Secretary Zintle Nkqayi, of course, telling the tribunal, in fact, the gathering there, that there is apparent, contradictions when it comes to what Mengo has, presented there as far as the performance of, some sexual explicit acts, as we've heard when she was giving her testimony. But of course, as always, somebody who's watching this very closely for us is Canny Maphanga. And quite startling, Canny, when you listen to what Zintle has to say, and it's almost like it's in direct contrast with what we've heard from, Andiswa Mengo's version of events. And one wonders, especially about the fact that when she speaks about this allegation of, the exposure of manhood and all of that, what else did she say?
Well, indeed, Bongiwe, only one version can be true before the tribunal. We've heard from the Judges Secretary Andiswa Mengo of the alleged in-person interactions, which she alleges were unwanted from the Judge President, and she alleges that it constitutes sexual harassment. You may remember that she gave evidence of various incidents within the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court where she said certain things took place. There was the non-offensive act of the Judge President commenting on the dress code. And then, of course, there was the bombshell that was dropped about the alleged incident in Chambers, where she alleges that she was requested to perform an act of a sexually explicit nature. And she did testify that she ran out of the chambers. We know that the CCTV footage of the 15th, I think I stand to be corrected, could not find that particular incident where she would have been running out, because the CCTV would have showed you the corridor. So it's basically Andiswa Mengo's version versus the Judge President's version regarding these in-person interactions that are in dispute before the tribunal. What we have done now, we've seen that the Judge President has moved to his defense, if I could put it that way, regarding this issue, and he's brought his first witness, which is a former Judges Secretary in the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court, who would have been his secretary during the period in which these allegations are made. The evidence that she has given, she doesn't deal outright with the allegation, but the evidence that she has given creates the impression that on those said dates in which it is alleged that, for example, that the chamber incident allegedly took place, that the diary of the Judge President was so fully occupied that it minimizes the possibility of someone having gone to the chambers on that day. So basically that she was, he was busy with his meeting with the lawyers, then she walked him to the lecture that he was supposed to give, then she left. She also contradicts Mengo's testimony with regards to the allegation that she peeped through and saw the Judge President allegedly hugging the court manager. You may have heard the evidence, and that there seems to be some form of a dispute that existed between Andiswa Mengo and the court manager. Once again, she disputes that evidence, stating that she was in that particular office that is connected to the chambers, and she would have seen who went in and went out, and she testifies that they went in and out on separate occasions, and she was at that desk at all times. She also contradicts that after the alleged incident of the chambers that Andiswa Mengo found her at the B&B. Zintle Nkqayi states that she left and went straight back to East London. So she didn't go back to the B&B in Mthatha. So there can only be one version that is true, and the two are completely different to one another. So it's only one version can be true, and the tribunal must now decide, if the cross-examination doesn't succeed, which version is true.
And it's interesting because there was also questions that were being raised about her memory as far as some of the events that would have then taken place around the judge's diary and, plans for the day. And speaking about the fact that, yes, she would then be memorizing the events because they would be on her mind about where the judge would have been at a certain time and at a particular time. Let's speak about, some of what the defense is also driving at here when you're looking at some of this evidence as it's being presented.
Well, there is a large bulk of the evidence that is electronic communication. Some of it is understood to be both parties agreeing that this conversation did take place, with the argument that it was consensual, allegedly. And then there are some messages that are in dispute, which is why you saw technical experts coming in, such as the previous experts, such as Dr. Ducrat, who spoke about the emojis and what they intend to convey. We now understand that the judge president will be bringing his own expert to convey what those technical messages or those emojis would have meant and what message he was trying to convey to Andiswa Mengo when he sent them. We've already seen expert evidence that hasn't been able to delve into those disputed text messages of the sexually explicit images that Andiswa Mengo alleges were sent to her that couldn't be retrieved by that particular technical expert that was brought by the evidence leader. It remains to be seen what the expert that will be brought by the judge president is going to say, but essentially, obviously, the witnesses that the judge president will bring are people who will testify on his behalf, so towards his defense. So you can expect that a lot of that evidence will run contrary to what has been presented by the complainant.
Quick one, when does he take the stand?
Well, he has 3 witnesses that he has to call. So we're still on the first witness, that is Ms. Nkqayi. She's still under cross-examination. Then it will be 2 more witnesses who will also have to undergo cross-examination should the evidence leader choose to do so. And I think he wants to be the last that takes the stand and then gives his side of the events as to what happened. And then the tribunal will now have both sides and it will be able to make a report regarding what their recommendation is to the JSC regarding this fact-finding mission.
And we'll continue to watch it through your eyes. Thank you so much, Canny, for bringing us up to speed with the developments there. That was SABC News senior reporter Canny Maphanga watching that tribunal for us.